What is up YouTube? And today I'm going to be showing you guys my Rengokutsu Inferno 100% win rate team. This team is going to average about 3 minutes to 3:30, so it's not the fastest team, but because it is going to be 100% win rate, we'll take the extra time it takes for that consistency, right? I'll be showing you guys the team, the stats, pretty much everything and why I'm using it for this team. And I'll also show you guys the run in action after I show you the builds and stuff like that. So this team centers around Sania as my main healer. I think she is one of the best characters for Rengokutsu in terms of stable, consistent, high win rate teams. If you guys want to see why I think she's so good, I have a full video of it on my channel. But long story short, it's mostly because she has a ton of turn cycling, a ton of healing. She can purify these debuffs that the boss puts on, and she also can revive teammates, which is going to be very, very good in the case that your DPS, whichever you're running, Yeli or Dieting, ends up dying, which is going to happen more often than you think. So you can revive them. She can also just give people max HP so they are tankier into the fight, especially because the fight goes for quite a while, about like 3 minutes-ish, like I said. So, you'll be able to stack this up on a lot of teammates. So for the build, you are going to want to run her on Swift Rush 12 for sure. And then after that, you either go Wellspring or Bloodbath. So I think on Wellspring, if you can get her to 55,000 health at least, which is achievable by having these 3 HP percent right side pieces and a very good passive roll on the first passive for your shell, then I think she is worth running on Wellspring. It makes you heal your team more. However, if you find your Sania dying, which cannot really happen, or else you'll end up losing the run most of the time unless the boss is very, very low on health already, then you probably want to run her on Bloodbath. And Bloodbath will help her because you'll be able to reset the cooldown on this really quick. It's once per turn, you take pretty much 55% less damage. So because of that, you're able to actually just live and just keep rezzing people with your S3 if they end up dying. So Bloodbath is the safer option. If you're looking for something that heals your team more, then Wellspring is going to be better. But I think for most people, reaching this health requirement is pretty hard. So I recommend just going Bloodbath. Now, for your speed, you want at least 250 speed. This is because you need her to cycle quickly, because on auto, she uses her S3 randomly sometimes. So in the case that someone dies, you need her to cycle very quickly, 1 with high speed, and 2 with this turn meter push on her S1. So that way you can actually, get back to your S3 faster and res your fallen teammates. Now for lattices, you do need to max her to make this really consistent. I think at the very, very least, you can run her on S2 and S3 max, but the S1 max is very nice because 1, you're getting turn meter push increased, and 2, you're getting this 12 speed, which is going to be very, very good for cycling fast and keeping your team alive. Now for Shell, Fortissimo, I think this is going to be the best one by far. I've seen some people use other ones, but this is really good because this gives you a ton of burst healing. Like I said, you want HP, you want Shadow Rush, and for your third passive, Synergy is very good to increase the speed of your run. Otherwise, if you want to be tankier to make the run more consistent at the cost of reducing the speed of the run by just slightly, then Dauntless is going to be very good as well. And this is probably going to be the safest option, but I just have this on Synergy because it is my Fushu shell, so we're just living with that. So yeah, this is basically the Sania build. She's going to be the key component to this run because she can res your dead teammates, and she is amazing for this dungeon. The second character, which I think is also amazing for Rengokutsu, is Viper. Viper only really needs his S3 maxed. Having S2 is very nice as well, and also having S1 is nice because you get speed, but at the bare minimum, S3 is all you need, but you do eventually want to max him for PvP because he's so good. In terms of what you're running in terms of stats, you want to run him on Bloodbath for sure, and you're going to run him on Swift Rush 8. And you do this just by putting him on a Swift Rush shell, and you want your shell of choice to be Artisan for the extra shields. Now, the key with Viper is you need him to be on 2 effect accuracy pieces, and then 1 defense or HP piece. HP being better because Rengokutsu ignores defense. This way, you'll be tanky enough to survive. You can see that even with this, my Viper's kind of squishy, even though his defense is pretty high. Because if you run 3 effect accuracy, you run the risk of him dying randomly, and that is very bad. Even though you can get rezzed, you want your Sania to mainly be rezzing your damage dealer. So because of that, we have him on 1 defensive core. And to make up for that low effect accuracy, because you need about 200%, on your shell here, you're going to be running Gaze on the last passive. Now, you're going to want to run this probably on yellow or higher, but purple is okay. As you can see, I'm running. Just keep in mind that your debuffs won't stick as often or as much, just because you're not, having at least 200% effect accuracy, which is what you want. So because of that, I recommend yellow or higher, or if you have good substats rolled into effect accuracy on your pieces, you probably might not need it. But for the most part, you need Gaze, you need Shadow Rush as well, because you need them to cycle quickly. And then your first passive, you want it to be defense or health. And of course, you're running him on Artisan because you need these shields to, just keep your team alive. Even though Sania can res and even though she can heal, having some mitigation is definitely important because the boss does a lot of burst damage and it gets very, very scary. Now, the last two members, it's going to be up to you. So if you have access to Lily and Yeli, these two will make the runs the fastest. And this is the team that I'm using because it is the fastest and it's the one I'm showcasing. If you guys want a complete free-to-play team because you're lacking Lily or Yeli, you can actually use something like a Dieting and also a Vice together. Now, the reason why you have to pair them together and you can't use like Lily Dieting or Yeli Vice is because the boss has a mechanic where if you stack the same element, you just end up taking a lot more damage on the stacked element. So you really want to spread the elements across. So for that reason, you either run Yeli, Lily, or you run Dieting Vice. I actually have a video on my channel with the Dieting Vice teams. If you want to check that out, you can look at it. But we're going to be looking at Yeli, Lily today because it is the team that I use. It is the most consistent, and it is the fastest out of the consistent runs from my experience. So basically, let's look at my Yeli first. So I just have her on standard setup. Personally, I think Harvest Fury is the best for shells because we don't have that many debuffs. Momentum won't really benefit that much. 2, Keen Eye is not that great, and 3, Onslaught is okay, but Harvest and Fury actually does more burst on the initial opener. So, if you get your Lily, push into Yeli S3 and then Lily S3s and then Yeli S3s again, you get way more burst out of this build. So this is the setup that most people use for shell farming, and stats are pretty simple, right? You just go full damage. You want 70% crit rate because she gets 30% from her passive, not her passive, but her S3 buff. And then you're going to want to run crit damage, attack, attack. That's going to be the best setup because you're stacking attack because the shell you run her on is going to be Revelation, and you just want as much damage as you can. Crit rate is going to be the best. This way you don't have to run a crit rate core. And then, of course, just attack and constant final damage is going to be your best bet. This will make your runs really fast. Yeli is the best DPS in the game right now for PvE. So if you're using this comp, your runs will be super quick, especially because you're pairing her with your Lily. Now, Yeli does need her skills max, obviously, because she's a damage dealer. And now let's move on to Lily. So Lily, S1 max is required. Nothing else is required after that. For build, you're going to want to run her on Swift Rush for sure. And Bloodbath is optional. So I run her on Bloodbath because it makes my runs like way more stable. But a lot of people don't run her on Bloodbath and still have like 90% win rates. And that's mostly because you just put her on full tank, full speed, and you abuse Artisan Shell. Now for me, I decided let's just go the safe route, give up maybe like 20 seconds on the clears, and just run her on Swift Rush and Bloodbath while being on Artisan. So that's the setup I run to make my runs as consistent as possible. Basically 100% win rate now. And for you guys, you don't have to run Bloodbath if you don't want, but just make sure that she's on full defensive cores. I have one attack bonus for some reason because it has the highest speed, so that's why I have her on Bloodbath most importantly. But of course, I could give some speed up and probably just make her faster on the left side pieces and it'll work out. But Swift Rush for sure, and then after that you either go Bloodbath or Bramble or Unbreakable. It's really up to you. And depending on what gear you have, but I think Bloodbath is going to be the safest choice. Now, for Artisan Shell, you want to run her on defensive first passive, Shadow Rush on second passive, and third passive. Not this one because she doesn't need effect accuracy, but something like a Dauntless is probably going to be the best bet, or even Shadow Guard if you make her the fastest on your team. But because I don't have this is probably why I'm forced to run her on Bloodbath. So if you guys have that, you probably don't need to run her on this. But I'll show you guys the run now. It's pretty simple. Basically, the speed tuning doesn't really matter too much because even if you die, even if you get silence on the opener, you are fine. You'll still be able to win. But basically the way it goes is my Lily pushes my Yeli. My Yeli still gets silenced, but my Sania can go and cleanse it off. And basically, we just keep going. You just want to make sure your Lily outspeeds the first set of ads. So I think that's around 290 speedish. I'm not too sure on the certain breakpoint. But you're going to see because I missed the defense down and the speed down, this run will take a little longer than it usually does. but it's okay. The second one does land. And you can see Fortissimo just gives a lot of value. Sania is spreading her buff so that my team gets tankier. And this is like the easiest phase of the boss, the blue phase, because we have no red characters. So you're going to see the boss just kind of does nothing here, which takes a lot of damage. My Viper's at 4 stacks. This means he should counter. Yep, here he goes. And this part is scary for Viper because he's blue. And this is why we have him on 1 defensive core, right? Because we don't want him to... It's okay if he dies, honestly, but we don't want him to die too frequently because Sania needs to be rezzing my Yeli to make the runs faster. You can see this setup is super safe, like it's essentially 100% win rate. I think when I tested it, I think I did about 90 something runs since I was recording, or not recording, since I was like, you know, writing it down. And I only lost 1 out of like 94, I think, or 93. So and the boss should just die here, or be very close to dying. Oh, nope, we don't get an extra hit, but you can see that this run is pretty fast for a consistent team, and it is very safe. Like, literally, no one's even close to dying because we have Fortissimo, we have 2 Artisans, and we have Sania. And even if they do die, of course, my Sania can literally just, you know, res them up, and the run continues. But yeah, this is the run. It's pretty fast, you know. Like I said, it's around like 2:30 to 3 minutes average. This is like a faster run, but you can see that it is very consistent, and you know, hopefully you guys can start running Inferno Rengokutsu. And like I mentioned, if you're looking for a more free-to-play friendly team without Lily and Yeli, you can check out the video, which I'll actually post down below, that uses Dieting and Vice instead. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next video.